Welcome to Awake, Aware, Alive, a podcast for awakening humanity. I'm your host, Lisa Warner, author of The Simplicity of Self-Healing. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this enlightening conversation. Hello and welcome, everyone. Welcome to another Awake, Aware, Alive podcast. I am your host, Lisa Warner, author of The Simplicity of Self-Healing and co-star of The Inside Effects, How the Body Heals Itself, and co-author of Navigating the Clickety-Clack, How to Live a Peace-Filled Life in a Seemingly Toxic World, along with my co-star here today on this podcast, Maura Leon S. Maura is a relationship expert. She is the co-author, along with her husband, of the book 7 Steps to Successful Relationships. And today we are going to be talking about relationships, our relationships with ourselves, each other, our bodies, and society in general. And maybe we'll even talk about our relationship with the divine. Who knows where we're going to go today? We're welcoming you here today. We're happy to have a relationship with you. So, Maura, welcome.
Thank you, Lisa. We always have so much fun together and also do our best to share ideas and tools that are useful and productive for people to support them in their process. So I'm looking forward to doing that today.
Hey, me too. I love that. I remember on my own healing journey when I found myself facing cancer, quote unquote. I felt so alone. I felt like I didn't really have anybody to talk to because I didn't want to go the medical route and I didn't know what else to do. And it's just so incredibly helpful to find people that are on your same wavelength, that you can have conversations with, that you can support each other. So I'm so grateful for the relationship that we have, so that we can share all the things that we learned along our journey that are not really talked about, but are the things that made the journey so much faster and more effective. So I'm really glad that you're talking about that, these practical tools.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I share your gratefulness for this relationship that we have together. So glad you came into my life when you did, and that I eventually recognized that this would be a good thing to do for us to do this work together that we're now doing. And yeah, you have definitely supported me in my process as well. So thank you so much for that.
It goes both ways all the time. Relationships are always a give, an exchange, like a back and forth. It's really never just one way, even though sometimes it seems like that for many people, I think. And, especially around the holidays when families are getting together and there's not always clear, loving communication. Sometimes it's a little bit dicey. I remember Keith's, your husband's, story about how at his family gatherings over the holidays, it would be, kind of a knockdown, drag out brawl sometimes verbally at the table until they decided to put a stop to it. And then it's always been peaceful and loving and kind ever since.
Yep.
So it's such a great way to have these conversations so we can start to learn, how did they do that? And how did you get to have such a great relationship with your own body that you could just heal cancer? Like, we have all of these things are about relationships.
They are, yeah. And my relationship with my body was healing from the thyroid diagnosis that they like to call Graves' disease, and knowing that was something that my body could handle, yeah. And for me, it was my relationship with things, not just things going on in my body, but things going on in the world around me, in my life, in my relationships. The word stress was a major word in my life back then. And I wasn't aware of how much I was creating that stress until I made the decision to shift and change things in my life, which also it's kind of gone back and forth between my life and my consciousness. So I also have the relationship to my consciousness and my thoughts about the things that are going on. So yeah, it's an evolution. It's an ongoing process, but the shifts that you and I have both seen just by being willing to change how we look at it and to change what we believe about it and to use the tools that we've learned to communicate better with ourselves, with each other, and to attract the situations that we want and the people that we want and the homes that we want. All that stuff together really, really works.
Yeah, I became so grateful for that quote unquote cancer that I was facing, because that was the thing that made me stop and look at my life and look at my relationship with myself, with my body, with life in general. I was a very kind of frustrated and angry young woman for quite a long time, because life was just so unfair, or so it seemed, and having to work all the time was so incredibly stressful and really soul sucking. It was just draining the living life force energy out of me. Because what I was doing was, I was just doing things for money, and then all the money that I made went out to house me and feed me and clothe me and do just all the basic things that really, when you look at it, nature is designed to give us all that stuff for free.
Mm.
So, and I knew that, and I was just so resentful of all of these things. And I knew that that energy of like the anger and resentment and frustration and stress, all of that was what was causing my body to do what it was doing. It was so clear to me.
Mm. Yep. Yeah, I think that's true for both you and me, and perhaps for some of the people watching this right now, that we had such a disconnect because we knew in our hearts and our souls, in our gut, in our the core of our being, we knew that the things we were being told to do, or the things that everybody just accepts that this is what you do, uh, weren't really supportive of us, of our true beings, of our health, of our relationships. And so and we, even though we had a clear understanding of how simple it could be, it was complicated in the world. Or it is complicated in the world. It's made complicated. Everybody complicates it. And so we were kind of doing that ourselves, just kind of buying into that, but feeling like, no, I'm not bought into this. And there was the conflict there. So in order to resolve that, we had to really kind of get to the point of, well, it's nobody's going to fix this outside of me. Nobody's going to, clearly they're not changing the way they're doing things. So I guess it has to start with me. I guess I'm the one that has to start changing the way I look at it, and changing my words, my behaviors. Yeah. And communication in relationships is a really big one that you mentioned too. That was a big one for me, and I know it is for a lot of people.
Oh, for sure. I think that as humans, we're not really modeled what a good relationship is. Like, look at all of the broken homes that there are. Look at all of the fighting and that we see on TV, and the violent relationships that are portrayed on in movies and TV, and it's like we're really not modeled what a real, true, kind, loving relationship is. like maybe on sitcoms, it's like cute, but like there's not that much beautiful relationship advice or modeling out there for us.
Yep. Well, I can say that the main thing I that we taught in the book and that we have taught for years and utilized in our own relationship and with other relationships is that every relationship you have is a reflection of your relationship with yourself. And so it really does come down to each one of us. It really does start with me. And particularly in partnership relationships, but also with family and other people, like we really want the other person to like allow us to be who we are, to get what we're trying to say. And the thing is, they're being who they are and they're saying what they're saying. So it's like if I want somebody else to understand me, then I need to understand them. If I want someone else to allow me to be who I am, I need to allow them to be who they are. And who they are may be getting covered up with, you know, some of the programming or, you know, behaviors that are not really authentically who they are. And so that may be a challenge. But the truth is, however they're being right now is is how they are right now and who they are right now. It's where they are on their path. And one of the things that Keith taught me that was so, so helpful, because I knew in my heart that it was so true when he first said it, but it was just like such a revelation on a surface level to be able to actually be conscious of it and do it, is that when someone who loves me, so often this shows up or would show up with my parents, for example, when I'm an adult, right? So they're no, it's no longer their job to be parenting me, but that's who they are, right? They're my parents. And so when they would say something to me that would feel like criticism, it would feel like control, or, you know, it would feel like them not seeing who I really am or honoring who I am. And it would feel like they were saying that I can't take care of myself or something like that. And Keith pointed out to me that whenever they were doing that, worrying, saying things about what I should be doing, that was them loving me. That was them expressing love to me. And I wasn't seeing it, so I was reacting to it instead of appreciating it and saying thank you for it. And once he told me that, and I got it. Now, I mean, it took a little practice to be able to like notice my reaction and then not act on my reaction, not come from, that place of resistance, that place of getting triggered and feeling like they're not seeing me, and instead go, okay. And it actually took him sitting across the table from me when I was on the phone with my mom or my dad. And he would see me start to get frustrated and he would just look at me and mouth the words, she or he is loving you right now. And I was so happy for the reminder. And I got to remind him too, by the way, because when he was talking to his mom, it was like the same thing would happen. He would get very caught up in that same feeling of, oh God, why does she have to say these things? Well, she is saying those things, they are saying those things, and those things are beautiful if we see them as beautiful. And then I started saying, thank you for loving me. And it was almost like, I remember my mom, she was kind of taken aback when I would say that instead of reacting, because she was used to me reacting and resisting, right? And so she was all ready to go back and forth, right? Let's do this, right? Because everything has to be an argument. Everything has to be a war. That's not what we want, but it's what we sort of automatically do because we're just kind of conditioned that way. And so when I responded with, thank you for loving me, I really see how much you love me. Thank you. She'd be like, oh, well, yeah, I do love you. I do. And so then we were talking about love. And it was amazing. She wouldn't go back to the other stuff. It was like once I received the love, she was done with doing that in that conversation. She might do it again another day, but the more I said, the more I didn't react and just said, thank you for loving me, the more she got that she loved me. So she didn't have to keep doing things to try to prove it, things that were triggering me.
I remember that was so confusing growing up, feeling like I was constantly being judged rather than loved. And it took me a long time. Like I didn't have a Keith in my life at that time to tell me these things.
Yeah.
So it took me, like, I had to discover that myself. And it took me a long time to really realize that they are really loving us, because their worry is their way of going, oh, I don't want anything bad to happen to you.
Right.
But because we are such empathic beings, we feel that energy. And then when I would feel that energy of like worry, or you have to do it this way because otherwise you're going to be wrong, or it was like I don't like that energy that I'm feeling. So like I would push back against it, and then there would be the fight back, the battle. And it took a long time to stop that battle mode.
Yeah, and like I said, every relationship is a reflection of your relationship with yourself. So looking at it that way, they were projecting onto me their own fears about life. And once I realized that, then I could have compassion for it. It's not about me. It's not even about me. It's projected on me because they're my parents and they still see me as their child, even though I'm not a child anymore. I'm an adult, you know? So they're just trying to do whatever they feel like they can do to have some semblance of control or some way to like help, some way for their love to make a positive impact in their world, even if it's through their daughter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is a beautiful thing. It's a sad thing that they're not aware of it, but not everybody's ready to be aware of that. And so we speak about this, what we're speaking about now, we speak to people who are ready to be aware of it. And then when we speak with other people, family members or other people who aren't, we just love them. We just let them love us however they're loving us. It's not saying it's not challenging at times, but we can do it. And it makes a huge difference when we do.
Sure. As long as we're holding those frequencies of fear or doubt or guilt or shame or whatever those energies are, those charged energies in our bodies, then our bodies have to respond to those charges. And if we keep in that space of feeling stress or resistance, our body is going to have to adapt and kind of build up its defenses against whatever that resistance is to protect itself. And then we call those things diseases, but we're really not being attacked by diseases. We're really not allowing ourselves to come to peace. We're not really allowing ourselves to be in that space of love.
Right, exactly. And that's where the other side of it is. It's like they were projecting their relationship with themselves onto me, and I was projecting my relationship with myself onto them, and my relationship with myself was not peaceful. I was still fearful. I was, well, still, I mean, anyway. I was having my own neuroses, my own, things that I wasn't trusting about my life. And that was coming out in my reaction to them. So when I learned to start listening to my body, when I learned to start just taking time for myself to learn like what's really going on with me, first of all, and then do I want to be this way? And if not, how do I want to be? And how can I get there? Right. And trusting what could bring me there more from an internal space. Like, I can make changes on the outside, but it's the changes on the inside that enable the changes on the outside to really work.
Exactly. It's those shifts of consciousness. It's when we allow ourselves to see through a different set of eyes. We have two sets of eyes. We have our physical eyes and we have our non-physical eyes, our third eye, where we see on the image screen in our imagination, which we have been told it's just your imagination. That doesn't mean anything. That's not real. Yeah, actually, it is. It's very, very real.
Yeah, there's a difference between it's funny because the imagination that's not real is when we're imagining all the stuff that could happen, or all the things we don't want, all the things
Exactly.
we're afraid of or worried about or trying to control or whatever. But when we're imagining the real stuff, because we are creator beings and we can create anything. So what do we want? What do I want to create? That's the imagining that is real, and that's the imagining that really gives you what you ultimately want.
Exactly. Like this life, I look at it like this life is, it's like a game. We come in here and in the beginning, it's the game is to allow the external world to shape us. And we gather all the information from the external world and then we react to what we see in the external world and that starts to shape us.
Mm.
But and then when we allow others to shape us, it doesn't really feel good because we haven't shaped ourselves. But when we flip it around and we start to say just what you were just saying, how would I like to feel? How would I like to be? And we start creating that, then we start to shape ourselves. And the shape of our bodies, the shape of our relationships, the shape of our realities all start to change in relationship to how we be.
Mm, exactly. Yeah, I remember, I would think about, well, how I wish my parents would have treated me like a divine being, and and like I could know what was right for me, and just realize that they were there to take care of my physical needs as a child, but then allow me to unfold. And in some ways they did. I'm not saying they weren't good parents. In some ways they really did support who I am as I was growing up, which was really nice. But in other ways, their stuff was coming out on me. The things they weren't even conscious of, right? From the programming they got from society or from their families or whatever. But I got to a point where I was like, well, it isn't their job anymore. I am an adult now. And so whose job is it? If I want something that I didn't get, then I need to give it to myself. So I need to learn how to parent myself in the ways that I wanted to be parented. So yeah, they took care of my physical needs for the most part. And now it's up to me to take care of my physical needs, which I wasn't always doing properly either. Right. So I could be like criticizing them, but the truth is it's my job now and I need to be really honoring myself and taking care of myself, but also taking care of that inner child who really wants to be seen for who they really are, for that beautiful divine spark, for that beautiful being of light, and what they have to bring into this world. I mean, imagine if each of us, when we had children, looked at them as, okay, I'm going to take care of this child's physical needs because they're small now and they need me for that. But I know that this child is this beautiful light being of just love and truth and authenticity. And so they're here to teach me, or they're here to bring, beautiful gifts to me into the world. And I just gonna just like watch that beauty unfold, you know.
Right?
If we didn't have all the stuff in the way of not having been treated that like that ourselves when we were raised, then we would be able to do it for our children. So this is the world that we're moving to, and we're the ones who need to start this process. Those of us who have the awareness that these things need to be looked at. It's time for us to do it for ourselves and within our own lives, so
Yeah.
that we can move in that direction, you know,
Oh, for
forever.
sure. and to have these conversations and to help others remember that as well, you know, because living in this programmed society, our minds just get programmed in certain patterns, and we just then repeat the patterns because those are the patterns that we've been taught.
Mm.
And one of the biggest patterns is that the babies come in and they're just a completely blank slate. They don't have any intelligence or knowledge at all. And then we just have to shove stuff in their heads so that, they get educated, but they're already souls, fully mature souls coming into a small body.
Mm.
And if the society doesn't look at the sacredness of all beings, then we don't get that modeled to us, and we forget. We fall into the fields of amnesia, and we forget that we are these grand beings of light. And then we feel like we're the victims of society and, victims of circumstance rather than the creators of circumstance.
Yeah, and the only way to shift that is to start moving away from the things that are continuing that belief in your life. So for me, that meant, like, stop watching TV. Right?
It's huge.
Stop believing things people say, whether it's people on TV or whether it's people in my life. Stop believing everything that people say are true. Not to say that people are liars, like they believe what they're saying is true. That doesn't mean it's true. Stop believing that the thoughts I have in my own head are true, because all those thoughts are programmed. All those thoughts are the result of, all the things that I've been mistaught or maybe misunderstood, and then once we make that space by noticing all those things and not doing them, then we make space for opening to, all right, well, what is real? What is true? Who am I? And when we can see ourselves as that beautiful being that we were when we came in as a child, and then we can start to see others around us in our life as those same beautiful beings from when they came in as a child, and just see past all the other stuff that got, put on top of that, then we can start to come from that place of peace.
Exactly. This is the time of the Great Awakening. This is the time of the shift where our consciousness starts to shift and we start to see the programming that is happening in this game that we are here playing as grand beings of light. We're completely unlimited, but we've stepped into this limited realm where you have to follow the rules. You can't do this. They're not allowed to do that. Never do that. Always do this. And we step up against all of these limitations that don't feel good because we're by nature unlimited beings. Mm-hmm. So then we start like fighting against the limitations, but it's sort of like that Chinese finger puzzle, like the harder you fight against it, the more it locks down.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Yeah, fighting against the limitations, and the limitations aren't real. Right. So we're fighting against.
Fight you back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that is such a great realization, because all the arguing and fighting we do, like, I really have gotten to the point where now that I can notice it when I get into an argument, for example, with my husband, but with anyone, I mean, with you, now that we're, together as much as we are, right? We're not arguing, but I still find myself like arguing not in an upset way, or arguing like to try to be right about something, right? Yeah. And it's like, oh, we're just a discussion. But then I start noticing that I'm trying to be right. Like, why am I doing that? Like, how is that useful?
That's what we've been taught. There's right and wrong. And if you're not right, then you're wrong. And you definitely don't want to be wrong.
Exactly. And then we're just going around and around in circles, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And what we're perpetuating is the fighting. And so we're perpetuating the limitations of like, oh, it's either right or wrong. There's nothing, there's no other possibility.
Yeah. Ooh. I remember the first day I had that realization that more than one person could be right, like that you could both be right. I remember so clearly where I was. I was driving down the street. I was living in Aspen, Colorado, and I was just driving my car. And I suddenly realized, like, oh, what if both people are right? What if there doesn't have to be somebody that is wrong? What if there's more than one right? What if there's more than one point of view that is accurate? And I just was like, wow. And then I really started to look at all of those beliefs about this duality and, you know, realizing that we are multidimensional beings and that we live in a universe of infinite possibilities. And if we can
Mm,
imagine something, then that thing is. It exists because we can imagine it. And what if two people are just looking from slightly different perspectives? You're looking at the same thing, but
mhm.
seeing it from a different angle. So it looks different from a different angle. If you stand on one side of a building, you'll see one thing. If you stand on the opposite side, you'll see a different thing. But you can both describe it, and you're describing the exact same building, but it sounds completely different.
Which can be a beautiful thing if we're not sitting there feeling like, I must be wrong, so I better argue that I'm right. Right?
Exactly. Right. Or I should shame they have to be wrong. They're clearly wrong. So I should shame them because then it makes me right.
Makes me feel better about myself. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But if we could all just feel good about ourselves and about each other all the
Exactly.
time.
I know. Wouldn't that be beautiful if we really realize that we are all souls here playing this game of being a limited human, but we're actually not limited at all?
Yes. What can we create?
Heaven on earth would be that would be my vote.
Yeah, yeah. And we have, Lisa, you and I have been setting out to prove these principles, right? It's like we don't want to just believe things like, oh, okay, so we're going to stop believing the lies that we're being programmed with, but we're going to start believing all these, woo-woo spiritual ideas that maybe aren't really real. It's like, well, let's see how they are real. Let's not believe them. Let's like know the ones that we really do know deep down. We really do feel it, and we know like this is true. It has to be true. And then let's explore it. Then let's look at, okay, so what needs to be shifted in me in order for me to allow this to be true, in order for me to see the demonstration of it being true, right?
Yes,
And so we're
exactly.
doing that
I
daily.
know. It is so much fun. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Like,
It
we
is.
know
It's
that we're these grand beings of light. We know that we are supported in every moment of every day by universe, mother, father, God, whatever word you want to put on it, creator, source, and that we can create anything we desire. And we desired to create a beautiful cohabitation situation. And the house showed up. The circumstances rearranged themselves to match what we were looking for. And it
mhm,
was quite effortless and very joyful.
right. And then the programming in my head says, oh, but what if you know, you shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be like having this much love with, people who aren't your actual family members, because now you're neglecting your actual family members and it's going to be bad. Right. So I actually heard these things. I have heard these things come up in my head. I don't give them really much validity, but when they come up, they're actually very useful, because then I get to look at that and say, well, what do I want that to look like? How do I want to be with my actual family members? How do I want this experience with my soul family members that I live with now to be a positive influence, not only on my relationship with myself, not only on my relationship with other people who are like open to the ideas that we're teaching, but with my family members whom I do love? And how do I want it to affect them positively? So why not focus on that instead of focusing on, oh, it's going to affect them negatively? And as soon as I shifted that, it started shifting. It was so cool. It was like whenever I felt like I was making a decision out of obligation, I would just go, nope, not going to do that. And I was like, am I allowed to say no to that? How am I allowed to say no to that? But the way that it became clear was, I'm allowed to say no to that because that's not me being my best for me, which doesn't allow me to be my best for them. If I say yes to me and what feels good, but then I keep them in my heart and I don't shut them out, I'm not thinking negatively about them now because I'm in a peaceful place, then I can actually say yes to things when they are in alignment with me and have a beautiful experience with people that I formerly felt didn't see me for who I am, or maybe I didn't see them for who they were, and I thought we didn't have things in common anymore, et cetera, et cetera. It's not really true. Maybe partially true, but it's not a bad thing. It's not true in a bad way.
Yeah. Well, it's a really beautiful creation. And what I really love about it is people see the value in this little community that we have created, this 4-person community. And when we share the vision of our community and how we came together in common unity for the purposes of co-creation and cohabitation and creating sort of a divine blueprint for the divine architecture of community,
Yes.
we're planting this seed of what's actually possible for even a larger community, for our communities at large. And what I'm really so excited about is like when we tell people that we're doing this, they get super excited about
Yeah.
it. Like they can feel how fun and just expansive and
Yeah.
rewarding it is. And they get excited. They stuff that they had never even thought about before. And now it starts to, open some doorways of new possibilities for people.
It's so beautiful. Like that's how you know when you're on track, when something lights you up. And then when you allow yourself to go in that direction, and then you're able to actually share about it with other people and share your excitement and your passion, and they feel it and they get lit up. That's when you really know you're on track.
Hey,
Like when Keith and I moved into the RV, we were getting that all the time. It felt so good to us. But then I was thinking, well, but other people won't really understand it. But they did, because we were so passionate about it. They could feel our joy and they were just like, wow, that is so awesome. I want to do something like that. And I was really surprised how many people said, I want to do something like that. And then when we got to the point where it was time to move out of the RV, then it was like, um, yeah, it was just a different, it was just a shift to the next thing. And it was clearly that we needed to move out because I wasn't excited about it anymore. It was, I was getting excited about other things, even though they were kind of freaking me out a little bit. Like, how's this gonna work? I don't know how this is gonna work. Oh, well, is it okay to not know? It's okay to not know. Okay. This is happening. I'm taking steps towards something that I don't know how it's going to unfold. And I'm trusting that it is, because I can see it and feel it in my future vision. The feeling of it is so clear. The truth of it is so clear. The details may or may not be clear yet, or the details are clear, but the how to get to that is not, I'm not seeing it yet because I don't need to. It's not for me to see it. It's for me to just allow it to unfold and show up. And that was what happened. And it was like, wow, we proved it again.
right? Yeah. It's
Yeah.
amazing. And I love not being attached to the details. If it has to look exactly like this and it has to be configured exactly like that. And, you know, just to allow things to unfold for the best possible outcome just gives the universe so much more flexibility to bring things to us and to bring things that we may not have even considered.
Yes. Yeah. And it's that trusting each step of the way, trusting how it feels. Does this feel like some of the steps seemed like, well, this should be the right step right now, but it didn't feel like it was.
Mm.
And to like notice that and trust it and honor it and even be willing to like say it, when there's other people involved, that's part of it too, because then you're noticing, then each of us has our own experience and how we're feeling. But if we're coming together, then in order for it to work, we all need to get into alignment. So watching that process unfold and doing our best not to judge it, not to be in fear about how it's unfolding, and just notice what each of us is going through and how we're and the the internal signals we're getting of this is not right now, this is right now. I don't know yet about this. I'm not getting the answer yet, and that means it's not time yet. I think that was the hardest one for me to trust, because when I looked at the external timing, lately you and me have been talking about like linear time versus like circular time and spiraling and when I looked at the outer circumstances, I was just like, okay, this timeline, like it cannot work from where we are now. Like the time that's gone by since we had this plan and the details that have not yet happened. this cannot logistically physically work. And that was me like thinking, and just totally in this like my understanding of 3D world, my understanding of just literal linear time circumstances, instead of the expanded view of, well, wait a minute, I don't know what's going to happen like 1 minute from now, let alone tomorrow. And all the pieces that we've been creating, we've been doing every step in the process for this creation to happen. We've been doing them all up until now. And so the moment that last piece needs to come in, it actually is not that moment yet, even though it feels like it's past that moment.
Yeah.
It's not that moment yet. And the pieces of the puzzle that haven't fallen into place yet, they all are going to click in at once. And that's kind of how it happened, didn't it? That
Right.
was so cool.
Oh
At
my
least for me,
gosh.
from my perspective, that was what it felt like.
Yeah. It's really amazing. All we had to really do is just, we've been having conversations for the last couple of years about, oh, wouldn't it be fun to be able to live in a co-created community where it's a space of healing and where, others can come and heal, to be in a space that is safe, where they can express themselves, where they can remember who they really are and have others around them support them in that process. We've been talking about that for a long time. And this is the first manifestation of that. And
Mm,
it's clearly working so beautifully.
I love it. Thank you for saying that, because you just made me realize that what I was just sharing, that experience, me having that experience of that process was so important, because it got me to see that I could trust. It got me to like have that validation that as long as you trust, everything works out. So trusting myself, trusting others who are doing this with me, trusting the process of life, trusting the process we're going through. And when you do that, it really does go so smoothly. And like you said, that's how it's been going ever since we moved in. And just, I mean, how gratifying is that? Like it's great for us, it feels good for us, but because of our vision for being that blueprint and that template for others to be able to have that and create, because I know so many people want to create divine community in different ways. People have different circumstances and different ways that they want to create it. But a lot of people are ready to create that and wanting, really wanting that in their life. And so seeing it play out so simply and so beautifully and peacefully and lovingly is, yeah, was really great.
Yeah, it's been so beautiful. And I like that you bring up the whole trust thing, um, you know, and going back to healing our bodies. We've been so conditioned to not trust in this world. Oh, those people over there, those people are the bad guys. They're the enemy. Don't trust those people. Don't trust your body. Your body's not functioning properly. Don't trust it. Trust us. We have the answers. And when I healed myself, and I'm sure that you had a similar experience on your journey, was that the one of the biggest things I had to learn was to trust my body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And yeah. And that's a step-by-step process. For me, in my experience, you have to make the decision. You have to make the conscious choice to trust.
Yes.
And then the trust comes piece by piece by piece, step by step by step. And it's that same thing I was talking about with moving into the house and seeing the plan unfold and fall into place. Each time I have the validation of, okay, I trusted and this thing happened that is moving me in the direction I want to go. Like it actually worked out. Each time that happens, I trust more.
Yeah.
So, like it'd be great if we could all just trust fully all at once. And I mean, I know anything's possible. So it is possible that you could trust all at once and everything in your whole life could just magically manifest instantly and perfectly. And yeah, that's where we're going in the future. We are beings who can do that. You and I both know and trust, like we can, yeah, we just know that is possible and that is where we're going. But for now, we are still in that, we are still working with that linear time aspect of piece by piece by piece, trusting more and more. And then we get to a point where we really can start experiencing things in a different way, time wise, in a different way in terms of trust and peacefulness and love. And yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful process to learn to trust each other, to learn to live in trust with yourself, to trust your own inner guidance, to trust your intuition. That's something that has been really almost, I want to just say, like beaten out of us, in that from the time we're little kids. You will eat that canned spinach, or you will sit there until you are finished. You will listen to you will do what they say. And as little kids, we don't really have any recourse to that. What are you going to do when your mom says, you will do this because I say so? It's like, but it doesn't, those things don't feel right inside.
Yeah.
And then we say, well, she knows better. I better just do what I'm told so I don't get in trouble. And then
Or
that
we
pattern of
rebel and end up doing things that aren't good for us,
right?
because we're not coming from a space of knowing and a space of love and a space of,
Yeah.
clear creation, because we just got like, well, obviously I don't know what to do.
Right? Exactly. Yeah. So
Yeah.
this whole game that we're here playing has just been to get us to allow, give our power away to others until we kind of get done feeling like a victim. It's like, wait a second, I want my power back. I want to feel good about myself again. I want to feel good in my body. I want to feel good with the people I surround myself with.
Yeah.
Then that starts that process of shifting and opening up our perspective.
And creating more opportunities for that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we're so bogged down with things the way they are, the way we see them around us, with other people, with circumstances in our life, and we don't see a way to create the opening for what we want. But it's just, again, it's just the decision. It's the choice. You make the choice and the openings start to show up. You start to see places where you can just start to shift that relationship, start to shift your relationship with yourself, start to shift your relationship with your body, start to shift your relationship with the circumstances that are showing up.
Exactly. Yeah, it's so many times I realized that I wasn't actually making a choice. I was saying, well, why doesn't this thing happen? Why is my life going down the tubes? Why isn't this not happening? I would much rather be a millionaire than sitting here broke. I would rather be super healthy than sitting here facing cancer. I want my health back. I want money. I want these things, but I was never making a choice to be those things, to be the version of myself that had the things that I desired.
Mm-hmm.
I was sitting wallowing and being a victim of, I'm so depressed, I'm so blah, blah, blah. And rather than, how would I rather feel? What does the vibrant, radiant, healthy Lisa be like? It's not really what do I look like, it's like what does that look like to
Mm.
be the most vibrant, radiant, healthy, happy, best version of yourself? What would that actually look like? And then who do I need to be in order to be that? Like, how do I configure my energy in order to match that vision?
Yeah.
Because clearly sitting around going, oh, poor me, I'm a victim, this is terrible, that energy doesn't match the vibrant, healthy, radiant, happy self that I desire to be.
Yes. Yes.
And so if we want to heal our bodies, like I had to become the healed version of me. I had to become the higher version of me, not the one that was down here in the dumps,
Yeah.
but the one that was up and happy and feeling alive, not the one that was down in the dumps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Even if even if today it's like my body needs rest, I can be like, oh, I can't work, I'm not well. Oh, I could be that way, or I could say, hey, I'm taking a rest day today, taking care of myself, getting some rest. And knowing this is what I've been doing lately. It's so great. Knowing that by doing that, possibly in a few minutes, possibly in a few hours, or possibly by the next day, usually not any longer than that, I am so rejuvenated that I can do all the things I wanted to do before I started feeling that way. Everything's great and more. My shift in perspective sometimes is like I realize what things actually don't really need to get done and shouldn't, or what decisions I would have made that would not have been right.
Yeah.
you know, had I
At least
not,
helpful.
had I not taken that time to clear a little bit. So even the things that show up in our bodies, we see them as negative. We see them as bad. We see them as, unhealthy. But what if it's not?
Exactly. Right? That's what we've been taught. We've been taught there's something wrong with me. But what if that's not true? When I found myself facing that cancer, every day I sat in meditation. I asked, what do I need to know about this in order
Mm.
to change it? And when the answer came, like this is what happens when the answer drops in, like the answer is absolutely 100% knowable. Like you can see and know the truth of the answer when it comes in as that clarity and that truth. And
Yeah.
the answer was, Lisa, your body is not diseased. Your body is functioning exactly the way it's designed to function.
Mm.
It's following the input you have been providing. And the input was, there's something wrong with me. I'm depressed, and life isn't fair, and
Right?
and all of these negative inputs that I was inputting. My body was simply responding to that. And as soon as I changed the story, my health started to change. Imagine that. As soon as I started trusting my body instead of resenting my body, it all started to change.
So beautiful.
Right? So those stories that we've
Mm.
been taught, we just keep repeating the same stories. But I realize those stories aren't true. And we don't have to keep repeating those stories. There is no enemy over there. And there is no enemy lurking inside either. We've
Right.
been taught, well, you better go and get that checked out because, you're fine now, but, maybe in a couple months down the road, there's going to be trouble because something's lurking inside. That's just not true.
Especially the more you embody the beautiful true self that you are.
Exactly.
Like, like when you realize how much that impacts you, why would you choose anything else, any other way of being? You know?
Exactly. And it's always been very curious to me that we're taught that in order to know whether we're healthy or not, we have to have somebody else tell us. Like we have to go get checked out to let us know that we're healthy. It's like, wow, like we can't just tune in and just
Mm.
notice our state of being. Like we can't just notice that, hey, there's nothing wrong with me. It's all that programming.
Yeah, that's the ability that we've I guess lost. I don't know. Yeah, I guess so, because you know,
Still there.
right. But each generation is kind of teaching the next generation not to know that it's there, not to see that
Exactly.
have that ability. So we are now um, shifting that because we do have that ability, and when we know that we do, and we learn to trust it, then it becomes clearer and clearer.
Exactly. And the more we change our relationship with our bodies and change our relationship with ourselves, and to realize there's nothing wrong with us. We've received, we've been on the receiving end of a lot of trauma and drama and programming, that's for sure. And we have become, very distorted and contorted to try to protect ourselves and to try to fit in and not make waves and not get in trouble. So, we're not at our divine blueprint right now, but there's nothing preventing us from returning to the divine blueprint when we start to tune in and recognize what is my core essence. Like, who am I at my core? I am kind, I am generous, I am loving, I care, I am peaceful, I am happy, I am healthy. Like, those are the things that I desire to be. And the reason I desire them is because those are the things that are true for me. Those are the states of being that are authentic.
Mm-hmm.
And when we choose to return to that, the cool thing is it's easier to return to being yourself than it was to get distorted out of all perspective to begin with.
Yeah, ultimately it is easier. It seems harder because everything around us and everyone around us is like set up to make it seem like we can't do that. But the truth is we can.
Yes, we
You
can.
can.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be difficult. It can actually be really, really simple. Creating heaven on earth is simple. It may not always be easy. Like, just like healing our bodies may not always be the most comfortable thing. Sometimes healing looks like vomiting. If you have food poisoning, the healing part is like, kind of the really messy part.
Yeah.
But it's the necessary part. So when we
Yeah.
can
And the
realize
messy,
that, we can
right? The
embrace
messy
it.
part can be emotional, and it can be mental. It can be the thoughts that are coming up, and it can be the emotions that are coming up. And those, it's just like, that's the vomiting. It's like they're coming up to be cleared, and just allow them. Don't judge it. Don't get upset about it. Just allow it and be happy that it's happening
Exactly.
so you can feel better.
Exactly. These things, the things that we have repressed inside, that we've been kind of holding on to, that we haven't looked at, that we're just kind of carrying around, in our backpack. Well, if I never look at that again, maybe it'll just go away, but it really just stays there. Those things have to actually get expressed from our being, which means we have to experience them. We have to say them out loud. We have to be them so they can literally leave our bodies. That's what expression means. It means to get it out.
Yep.
So healing is that expression. It's like the body expressing all of the stuff we've been repressing.
Yep. I remember years ago, I got to a point at one point where um, I would just uncontrollably just start bawling, just start crying uncontrollably for no apparent reason,
Mhm.
in public or with people I didn't know at a party. It was just happening at the most inopportune times. And it was so uncomfortable and embarrassing. And then until I just, okay, this is coming up for a reason. And right now, maybe the reason for me is for me to get comfortable, just accept it and see like what is the reason. And what I found is that when I let go of the discomfort and feeling embarrassed by it, and I just allowed it to happen, then other people were just like connecting with me in a way that they never would have or could have. And it was just beautiful. It was incredible. I'd be like, yeah, so apparently this is my gift. I'm saying this while I'm like tears streaming down my face, like, hi, nice to meet you. Apparently this is my gift. I feel feelings, and they just come up when they come up. So there you go. And it would set everyone like at ease and just make them feel so connected to me that I just started to see, wow, that really is my gift. And I need to stop worrying about it and just let it be what it is.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it gives people permission to express themselves authentically.
Yep.
Like we're just taught to repress everything. Big boys don't cry, all of that kind of thing.
Yep.
And it just makes it really, really difficult to be ourselves. So I'm so glad to be on this healing journey with you, this journey of health and wealth and expression and love and co-creation and community. It is just such a beautiful pathway. And I know there's so many more of you who are listening out there today who are also on this same journey of self expression, to clear out all of the stuff that got placed on us and in us throughout our lifetimes, to clear out all of that dis-ease from inside that never belonged to us to begin with, to really have these expressions of health and vitality and well-being and love of your fellow human, love of yourself and your own body. And this is now the time where we get to change this game on earth where we get to create heaven on earth by letting our own light shine. That's the beauty of all of this. All of the answers are right inside us. And it's letting that light shine, letting that love shine through.
Yes. Yes.
So,
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
yeah. So, Maura and I are creating a beautiful 12-week experience for people who are looking to be able to let their love shine, to turn their lights back on, to allow their bodies to heal, allow their relationships to heal, to start creating beautiful relationships with yourself, with your body, with each other. And we call it whole being healing. And we are on a mission to help you heal yourself, to move from fear to love, because the fear prevents the healing. It prevents us from being all of who we are. And to start really trusting your body to heal itself, because that is the divine design. And it is time for all of us to start being the best version of ourselves that we can be, so that we can really, truly love living.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I'm so excited about this. I'm so excited. Yeah, I'm beside myself excited because I know that everything that you and I have been working towards for ourselves is not just for ourselves. It's for everyone. And yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. Maura and I have each been on our own healing journey, physical healing, relationship healing, all different aspects of healing. And when we were each going through our own physical healing issues, when we each chose not to go the traditional medical route and to learn to heal our own bodies, it wasn't an easy journey, because there wasn't really a lot of modeling out in the world of, well, here, your body heals itself, and here's how you do that. Here are the conditions that are required for your body to just heal itself. That's not really front and center on the news. And so, it took us a while, because it was, this trial and error thing. And we
Yep.
had to learn how to trust our bodies. We had to learn how to address the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions, the energies running through. So I'm super excited to be able to create these things together to help all of our future clients and our participants to make that healing journey a much straighter, easier path than ours was. Because when you have some key awarenesses, you can speed up that time.
And having people around you, having a whole group of people supporting and focusing on the same thing, each in our own way. We each have our own process. We each have our individual process, but having the energy of the group and the support of the group is huge.
Yes. To have others who recognize that, yes, I know my body can heal itself,
Yeah.
is so huge. I just remember really feeling quite alone on that journey. Like, I knew it inside, but I
Yeah.
didn't have other people validating it outside, which, that's also part of the test of all of this. Can you just stay in your own inner knowing? But when you have that group around you, supporting you, validating and saying, yes, we know this too, poof, the transformation happens so much faster.
Yeah. And it's time. It's time for us to all come together in this way. We're coming together in community. We're coming together in healing. That's what this time is about. And yeah, Can't really avoid it anymore.
That Mother Earth needs us because
Yeah,
as we heal our own bodies, we're part of Mother Earth. We're also helping her heal her body as well. It's time to restore the architecture of our light bodies, to restore the architecture of the divine self, that energy self, the self that we don't see in the mirror, the part that we just feel on the inside. Time to start bringing that peace that passes all understanding back to earth. And especially this time of year, as we record this um, around Christmas and New Year's of 2024, this is the time where we talk about peace on earth, goodwill to all beings. This is the divine design, and it's time for us to create it for ourselves because nobody's going to create it for us. That's
that's
our
right.
job.
Stop worrying about what's going on out there. Get it right in here, and then together, like the possibilities are endless. It's just going to be awesome what we create.
Absolutely. So if this sounds of interest to you, come check it out at connectingyoutoyou.com. You can see what Maura and I are up to, and you can join us on our mission. You can join us on this beautiful, empowering journey that we are ready to guide you on so that
Yeah.
you can then guide others. Once you learn these things, then you can help spread the word to others.
Yeah.
We're all here to help lead each other home.
We are. We are. Let's do it.
Yeah. Maura, thank you so much for being my guest today, for
Mhm.
being here present with me in this beautiful co-creation. So thank you
My
all for
pleasure.
joining us today. And we're going to be back next week. And we're going to share the introduction module for our 12-week experience with you guys, just so you can see what we're up to. And maybe you can gather some really useful information to help you on your journey. So stay tuned next week because it's going to be a really good one. Okay. So
Yes.
happy holidays to everyone.
Happy holidays.
All right.
Lots of
Thank you
love.
all so much. Bye for now.
Bye.